They are some of the unforgettable memories of 2019. Thousands of young people taking to the streets and demanding global action on climate change. Those massive public demonstrations were put on pause in 2020 due to the coronavirus pandemic. But Gideon Foreman of the David Suzuki Foundation says this has still been a positive year for the environmental movement.
I think people are starting to reassess, reappraise some aspects of their lives that are quite polluting. And I'm hopeful that some of the good aspects of that will stay with us into 2021 and beyond, that we will see people commuting less and flying less because they realize that they don't have to.
Foreman admits there have been downsides to the pandemic, including the increased use of plastic bags and disposable masks. But he points to added investment in public transit and bike lanes as positives, along with the global lockdown that has had a big impact on the air we breathe.
I read some research suggesting that in some parts of China, you saw a 30%, up to 30% reduction in nitrogen dioxide. I mean, these are very, very significant year-over-year drops in pollutants because people were driving less and because industry was so much scaled back.
Canadian environmental policy wasn't completely forgotten in the midst of the pandemic. The Trudeau Liberals unveiling a plan to reach net zero emissions by the year 2050. A new law was also introduced, forcing future governments to regularly report on climate change progress.
This country's had a hard time with its climate emission targets, meeting them, right? We haven't met them up to now. This legislation is good news because it's going to help us turn a corner on that. It will put in place these progress reports and milestones and transparency.
Foreman would like to see the Canadian government take further steps in 2021, including putting an end to fossil fuel subsidies. He's also encouraged by the big change coming to the White House, with Donald Trump moving out and Joe Biden moving in.
I think it's one of the most hopeful things internationally. First of all, the U.S. will be rejoining the Paris Accord, which is crucial in terms of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. You've got a government that really sees the value of building back better, of a green economy.
Foreman says the pandemic has taught us all something very important, that science matters. And he's hoping that lesson will also carry over to the topic of climate change. For City News, I'm Melanie Ng.